civilizations in the ancient world were characterized by political uncertainty and warfare. Along with expert tacticians, warring empires required sophisticated weaponry to overcome the enemy, with the latter often determining if a battle was won or lost. From fire, which could burn on water, to a rapid-fire crossbow, these arms highlight the creativity, ingenuity, and sometimes horrific imaginations of the designers of ancient war machines. Here are 5 of the deadliest weapons of the ancient world. If you haven't already, hit the like button, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel for more videos. Archimedes, the master of weaponry. No list of inventive ancient weapons would be complete without a few examples from the amazing mind of mathematician, physician, engineer, astronomer, and inventor Archimedes of Syracuse, 287 BC to 212 BC. Though few details are known about his life, he is regarded as one of the leading scientists in classical antiquity and made discoveries such as Archimedes' screw, which is still used today for crop irrigation and sewage treatment. In addition to his inventions, which were intended for building and creation, Archimedes devised weapons that must have been terrifying and seemed otherworldly to anyone who faced them in battle, such as projectile devices and powerful catapults that were capable of hurling rocks of up to 700 pounds or 317 kilograms. These were chiefly put to the test during the Second Punic War and the siege of Syracuse in 212 BC, when the Romans laid siege to the Greek city of Syracuse. Archimedes' array of inventions were described by Greek philosopher Plutarch. Although the Romans took the city and Archimedes was killed, he left behind a legacy of fantastical weapons of war. Archimedes' heat ray. Though this weapon's existence is debatable, ancient writings describe how an invention of Archimedes was used to destroy ships with fire. Many believe that during the siege of Syracuse, during which Archimedes died, large mirrors of polished metal were used to focus the sun's rays onto enemy ships, thereby setting them alight. Many ships were reported to have been sunk this way. Modern recreations of the weapon have demonstrated mixed results regarding its effectiveness, with researchers from MIT managing to set a stationary replica of a Roman ship alight. Descriptions of the heat ray emerged some 350 years later, and there is no evidence that the heat ray was ever used elsewhere, which seems unlikely if it truly was as successful as described. The Claw of Archimedes. This crane-like device consisted of a beam based on a rotating vertical platform. At one end of the beam was a large grappling hook, also known as an iron hand, which was hovered by a chain and balanced at the other end by a sliding counterweight. The claw would drop down from a city or fortification or defensive wall and down upon an enemy ship, hook and hoist it up, and then drop the ship back down again, knocking it off balance and likely capsizing it. These machines were used prominently during the Second Punic War in 214 BC, when the Roman Republic attacked Syracuse by night with a fleet of 60 ships. Many of these machines were deployed, which helped in sinking many of these ships. Combined with Archimedes' catapults, the enemy fleet was severely damaged. Steam cannon. According to both Plutarch and Leonardo da Vinci, Archimedes invented a steam-powered device that could rapidly fire projectiles. A cannon could have been heated by sun-focusing mirrors, while the projectiles could have been hollow and filled with an incendiary fluid that was likely a mixture of sulfur, bitumen, pitch, and calcium oxide. Using drawings from Da Vinci, MIT students successfully built a functional steam cannon. The shells left the cannon with a velocity of 670 miles per hour, or 1,080 kilometers per hour, and measured a higher kinetic energy reading than a bullet fired from an M2 machine gun. Archimedes' cannons would have had a range of around 150 meters. In spite of this recreation, it has been suggested that it is unlikely these cannons ever existed. They would have been placed on city walls on wooden platforms, making their incendiary fluid highly dangerous, and the mixture would have likely exploded as soon as it was fired, rather than upon reaching its target. Repeating crossbow. The archaeological evidence of the existence of repeating crossbows in China has been discovered dating back as far as the 4th century BC. The design of the Chukonu was improved upon by a famous military advisor named Zheng Liang, 181 to 234 AD. He even made a version that could fire up to 3 bolts at once. Other rapid-fire versions could fire 10 bolts in rapid succession. Though less accurate than single-shot crossbows, and with less range than longbows, the repeating crossbow had an amazing rate of fire for an ancient weapon, and was used until as late as the Sino-Japanese War of 1894 to 1895. Interestingly, though the repeating crossbow was in use throughout most of Chinese history until the late Qing dynasty, it was generally regarded as a non-military weapon, suited for women for purposes such as defending households against robbers or even hunting. Greek fire. Though technically a weapon of the early Middle Ages, Greek fire was first used in the Byzantine or Eastern Roman Empire around 672 AD. Thought to have been invented by a Greek-speaking Jewish refugee who had fled the Arab conquest of Syria, called Engineer Callinicus. An incendiary weapon, this liquid fire was propelled onto enemy ships through siphons, bursting into flames on contact. Extremely difficult to extinguish, it even burned on water. It could also be thrown in pots or discharged from tubes. Greek fire was so effective in combat that it represented a turning point in Byzantium's struggle against Muslim invaders. Greek fire, launched from tubes mounted on the prows of Greek ships, wrought havoc on the Arab fleet attacking Constantinople in 1673. So closely guarded was the recipe for Greek fire that it has been lost in history. We can only speculate as to its exact ingredients. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.